Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and I want to get hard with you, like armor, to talk about the Revoltech sci-fi Mark VI Iron Man. This clicky shellhead arrived from the secret HLJ helicarrier. He's the first of several Revoltech Iron Man releases, so let's check out his superior tech. Tony Stark's sixth armor is represented with a very decent sculpt, capturing the details I remember seeing in the film, though leaving a few gaps for the sake of posability and the use of Revoltech joints. A gorgeous shiny red paint is used in tandem with more muted gold and grays, but the lack of fine panel detailing does take away from the effect a little bit. The overall effect of the paintwork leaves me feeling as pleased as I was with the 6-inch Hasbro Iron Men. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing to say about a pricier Kyoto piece. The Mark VI comes with 4 pairs of hands in total. He has fists, calm open hands, and action open hands, all of which are simple to swap. They also all have a bendable flap piece for the sake of wrist articulation, which I really hope does not become easy to break through wear and tear. The final pair of hands are rigid and require the removal of the wrist joint. These are for poses involving Iron Man's repulsor blast ability, and in order to further facilitate that effect, you get a pair of removable blast effect parts. These look pretty cool, if a little bulbous. They can also be attached to Iron Man's boot soles to show him in flight, though you'll need a stand to display him like that. Or you can just wave him around. Revoltech Iron Man comes with a different kind of stand, which gives the appearance of blasting off towards adventure. It's rendered similarly to the repulsor blast parts, and I really like how it was done. The posable outer smoke clouds are a very nice touch, even though I'm not really sure what kind of artistic choices to make with them. However, be careful! I would not be surprised if a bad shelf crash could lead to the mounting pegs getting stuck inside Iron Man's boots after they have snapped off the bottom. You also get the standard Revoltech sci-fi editions of a name marquee and a mystic orange box. The tangerine crate is actually pretty good for this release, able to hold almost everything inside, with the repulsor blasts plugged snugly into the holes in the lid on top. And so to you, Mr. Stark, I ask the question, in this shell of armor, can you move? Why, yes he can. He's got Revoltech joints, so clicking. He's got one here in his neck, a really nice one actually. I like the range on this quite a bit. Then he's got a slightly less rangy one on the base of his neck. His shoulder pads are on teeny little Revoltech joints. They don't really click, they're much like his wrist joints, but that's kind of a nice touch. He's got regular Revoltech joints for his shoulders, as well as, I think, slightly smaller ones for his elbows. And of course, everywhere that they connect to a Revoltech joint, there's also a swivel. He's got one inside his torso, and here's a kind of weird, neato thing. This part of his torso is kind of just springy and chills out there. This is a little bit off-putting to see at first, but it's actually there just so that you can more easily get some posing without losing the overall structure of his torso armor. And of course his wrists do have this little tiny wrist joint here. His hips are not Revoltech joints. These are just like universal joints, which is kind of cool, because it means that you're not limited by the number of clicks. You know, they have a nice range of movement. I like the layered look to them. This top bit kind of slides around every now and then. There's also a thigh swivel. I've seen photos going around every now and then of someone who says that they have horrifically broken this leg joint. I don't see it happening on mine, but maybe I'm lucky, so just be careful with it. There is one of these double-jointed Revoltech joints inside the knee, which gets a good range of movement, and the kneecap has a Revoltech joint, much like the wrist pegs and shoulder pads, that allows it to do that, which is not all that helpful. This kind of seems a little bit superfluous, because it doesn't really seem to accomplish anything. Maybe I'm just missing it. And he's got Revoltech joints on his ankles, which also allows for some cool ankle tilting. One of the only problems is that when you tilt his ankles, this part doesn't move down, and I think that looks a little bit like flared bell bottoms. The only real problem with this guy, posability-wise, because his jointage is all fine. He's got all the joints he needs. The problem is that a lot of them are Revoltech joints, and that means that, like, the shoulder can move there or there, but it can't really easily go in between those two points of articulation. And I think it's a problem that I didn't have before with Revoltech, that as time goes on, I find it's starting to get less and less fun to mess with these guys, as overall toy engineering has gotten better. And Revoltech is still kind of, it's sticking to this game plan it has, and I kind of respect that, but at the same time, I just don't know. I mean, it's kind of tricky to get this guy into just a normal, relaxed stance, and with anime robots and stuff, You know, it's totally valid to just say, like, well, why would they ever look like that? That's true. But with Iron Man, I mean, you know, this is Robert Downey Jr. He's a wild and crazy guy, but sometimes, you know, he's got moments of introspection. Sometimes he's just thinking about, like, you know, that costume that Pepper Potts was wearing in Avengers, you know? And also, it's very easy for him to lean forward like this because of the way that the boots are designed. Now, granted, the really nice balancing point is that the non-Revoltech hips do let you balance out a lot of poses. But even then, like, it just starts to look a little bit strange. Much like with any Revoltech figure, the more I mess with them nowadays, I wish there were more click points on the joints, because I just feel like my full range of motion that I'd like to have is not quite available. So, I don't know. It feels like a problem I wouldn't have had a few years ago that I am definitely starting to have now with the Revoltech system. And that's the moment when Kyoto's ninja hitmen just descend through the ceiling. Okay, maybe not. Ah! Starting off a chain of like-minded releases in the Revoltech sci-fi line, the Mark VI Iron Man is a pleasant figure that doesn't do much to offend or amaze. His price point of just over $30 is primarily carried by the things added to the base figure, his shiny red paint, his multitude of accessories, and the great interplay and display options with the repulsor blasts and rocket boost display stand. I like the figure, but I cannot deny faults in places like his lack of very fine detail paintwork, or that the clicks of the Revoltech joints can get in the way of more natural at-ease standing poses. If you want a decent 6-inch Iron Man figure and want a slight step above stateside offerings, look into this guy, but don't pay too much over his Japanese retail price. If you can find him on sale, that's even better. Anyway, this is internet personality Vangelus. I hope this video's been helpful in some way, and I totally will not end it on a shawarma joke. Arrivederci.